Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and I am back with some gameplay footage and just a kind of a quick review of a game that I've been playing since the late 80s. That, of course, is Arkanoid, Revenge of DOH. I always thought that was kind of a weird name for this. It's technically the sequel. It's technically Arkanoid II, but you know, this game has a story too, which I think is kind of hilarious because it's such a simple premise, but it's also kind of cool. And so the enemy, I believe, is called DOH. And so that's why I say that, because I'm a dork. So if you are not familiar with this game, well, man, it's so simple yet so brilliant. So it's based off of, I believe, Breakout or Super Breakout. That is a game that I played originally on my Atari 2600 way back in the day. And it was a much simpler game where you would have these bricks, you had the paddle down at the bottom. On the Atari, you actually use the paddle controller, which is a really great way to play this. But what they did with Arkanoid was really smart, and they basically just took it to the next level. They have these little pills that drop sort of randomly off of these bricks here that give you power-ups, and it completely changes the game for the better. So for instance, you see I just picked up an L there for laser, and so now I can hit the the button on the controller and fire off the lasers. And that is just so handy because it essentially makes it so that you don't necessarily have to rely on your ball going this way or that. You have just total control as to, breaking out the bricks. It's pretty cool. Now, one of the things that they added to this version of it, or the sequel, I should say, is the idea of warp gates that can essentially, warp you to different levels depending on which one you choose. It's funny because I really don't use them, and I don't think I did that in this playthrough here. I'll have to sort of see. But that is kind of an interesting idea that, yeah, you can go and there's like a boss battle at the 17th level. I believe there is a finishing boss in this game as well, which completes the story, although I've never actually made it that far. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting idea. And as you see, there's a lot of different power-ups here. I just activated the shield. I think that's what that's called, where, basically I don't have to worry about it, getting past my paddle there. You have multi-balls. You have one that will allow you to catch it, which is really handy, and then fire it off, kind of aiming it, sort of like what you do when you first start a level. You also have elongate, you have slow down, which I think that's what the S is. Yeah, just a bunch of different variety. Again, it took a very simple idea that had kind of been played out, to be honest with you, because, Super Breakout, great game, but doesn't necessarily hold a candle to this one, in my opinion. I never go back and play that. I mean, it's nostalgic for me because to see those really primitive graphics, but man, Arkanoid and Arkanoid II, they are my jam. If I want to play this kind of game, this is the one that I'm going to fire up. And so this is one of those games I was capturing footage for when I was doing my my big Super Nintendo game collection video. It's just one of them that, not a lot of people talk about, and it's kind of fun to play every once in a while. It's really easy to get into. I don't know how exciting it is technically to watch. Although, again, back in the day, man, when you go to the arcades, this was one of them, it would really stand out. There were so many different types of games back then, too. It's funny because when you go into an arcade today, I went to one fairly recently, and it's a lot of the same type of games now. It's a lot of light gun games, a lot of pinball. But back in the 80s, because that's where all the innovation was happening, you had a lot of variety. I remember playing this, and then right next to it would be Frogger. Then you'd have Spy Hunter. You'd have what was that karate game? It was like one-on-one karate. It was like a realistic karate game. I can't remember it now. I also remember very vividly playing a game based on a Clint Eastwood movie, Firefox. Do you remember that Firefox movie that Clint Eastwood was in? So you had these Laserdisc games that would essentially overlay real graphics onto a movie. And so there was this Firefox. It wasn't very good, but it was so cool looking at the time. I probably only played it for a couple weeks, but just so much innovation. And I think that's what I kind of missed the most about arcades was you would go to an arcade and for a quarter, you'd be able to play the latest and greatest thing. And there was so much creativity. The racing games. I remember playing Time Pilot for the first time as well. Again, there's not that many, at least back then, there wasn't that many shooting games like Time Pilot. And so anyways, that's what this game here reminds me of is my childhood, going to arcades, playing this, and just enjoying the heck out of it. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video and have a great day.